Tired of jumping through hoops to buy Bitcoin? Frustrated with endless paperwork and invasive identity checks? Introducing Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club's loan program. No KYC required. Say goodbye to the hassle and hello to freedom. Borrow up to $250,000 at as little as 7% interest. Join our community and take control of your financial future. Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, where privacy meets opportunity. Connect with like-minded individuals and grow together. Visit us today and unlock your $250,000 Bitcoin loan. Your journey to financial freedom starts here.
I don't know how long this is going to raining cats and dogs. I don't know how long that the internet will last, but we're gonna roll with it. Fuck it. All right, guys and gals, let's jump right in. James Street in BlackRock. I said this years ago, or when BlackRock was approved, all of a sudden, all right, we had an SEC that wouldn't approve a single ETF, not a single. They're like, nope, not good enough. Nope, not good enough. Then BlackRock rolls out and goes, we're launching an ETF. All of a sudden, Gary Gensler's like, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. The problem we have is so many people, all right, so many people they're not putting the pieces together. They think, oh, that's just, of course, it was just the right time at the right place, all that bullshit, all right? You have to understand, every corporation, every large corporation has an agenda. They have a social and a political agenda. Everything is political. Everything is leading to a certain agenda. And the reason I say everything is political is because everything in the economy is looked at from the politicians as a plus or a minus with their agenda. That's what the SEC is. The SEC is approve what aligns with the system and reject what is not aligned with the system. Now, BlackRock is a political company. That's why the CEO is now the head of the World Economic Forum. All right, that right there shows you what the agenda of BlackRock is. The agenda of BlackRock is to consolidate the system of approved corporations. BlackRock is just a large group of shares in a large group of companies. Those are the approved corporations for the system globally. Now, let me share this real quick. All right. This is from December 29th, 2023. Remember, BlackRock ETFs launched in January 2024. It says BlackRock Bitcoin ETF names JP Morgan and Jane Street as authorized participants. Number one, Jane Street is a market maker. Let me explain that. When you launch a product like an ETF, you need to plug that product into the financial system. That's what Jane Street is. That's what they do. They take and they create a network of entities that they use for your product. Like Jane Street hooked up the ETF to the Bloomberg system. Right? Bloomberg has a proprietary service that you can purchase shares on your Bloomberg. It's called a Bloomberg terminal. It's $30,000 a year for a Bloomberg terminal. That's where you can trade all that shit. And you can trade everything's available on Bloomberg. It is basically an exchange. That's what Bloomberg is. It's an exchange. But everything is linked into the Bloomberg. That's what Jane Street does. It links with all of the Bloombergs, all of the Coinbases, all of the Krakens, all of the liquidity providers. That's what Jane Street does. Now, the reason that BlackRock chose Jane Street is because it is ran by friends of BlackRock. And so is JP Morgan. JP Morgan and now Coinbase. All right, remember BlackRock originally was using Coinbase. Then they switched to a different company. What company did they switch to as a custodian? Pretty sure it was Cantor Fitzgerald. Somebody check me on that. So you have James Street, which is the market maker. Now, as a market maker, you see the trades before they're executed. You are the software that the trades go through and aggregate to wherever has liquidity. That's how they manipulate the market. A market maker is by definition a market manipulator because they're who sends the information from all of the exchanges, and that's what they do. So Jane Street, the CEO, the whole organization is set up with BlackRock, right? Jane Street is one of BlackRock's main market makers. And what do? They create the market. Then they see where the profit is going. They see where the trade is going. So if they can front run anything because they see it when it comes in, and they have algorithms that can send out a trade prior to the general public knowing the trade even happened. That's what happened with Terra Luna. Jane Street knew Terra Luna was going to make a trade because that information, number one, it was put on a private chat that they were about to execute this. And then when they executed the trade, before anyone else could even see or recognize what was going on, Jane Street sent out another trade that collapsed it and caused a waterfall. Now, why did they do that? FTX. See, this is all them creating the new system. We see it and go, they're manipulating the market. Well, they are. They are manipulating the price to create the new market. It's exactly what happened in gold after the gold rush, or during and after the gold rush in California and other areas. The gold brokerage firms, would come in and purchase the gold using dollars, using paper money. And because the system moved so slow, the inflation moving into the gold was slow. So no one really recognized the devaluing of it because everything was local. The price of gold in Northern California was higher than the price of gold in Southern California because there was more gold. It was a local market. So the price in Southern California was higher or lower than the price up in Northern California. And the price in New York was higher than in Northern California because of the distance traveled, labor, transportation, all that good shit. This is completely different. This is digital ETFs. So the transaction cost is nothing. Their shipping value, all right, their shipping value in an instant. Unlike the old days, 1800s, where you actually dug up the gold, then you took it in. Usually, a lot of these miners would go in and just buy alcohol and whiskey and hookers and shit. Then the gold would accumulate at the local businesses. Then the businesses would put it into the bank. Then the brokerage firms would send out their courier, and the courier would bring cash and swap it for gold. And then the gold would be couriered back to New York or Chicago or wherever. And and that's what's going on here is they erase the value before the trade even hits. And yes, bingo, market maker derivatives. Exactly. Because now they can make the market digitally, which is just Jane Street links with BlackRock's ETF system. BlackRock goes in and creates a new product, which is the Bitcoin ETF. That ETF, that representation of one share of the ETF has a certain value. That system is API'd into Jane Street. Then Jane Street can accumulate the ETFs for other like Bloomberg and all that. And Jane Street will hold a reserve of the ETF. Now, they can hold that reserve of ETFs, or they can claim a reserve, which means has access to. That's what a claim is, has access to. So Jane Street had access to, they didn't hold them, they had access to millions and millions and millions of shares of the ETF. So they could sell a futures or a short of the ETF. That's why Trump is suing or going to sue Jane Street because of what is called naked selling. Naked selling. That's where you don't hold the ETF, but your claim is you have access. That's how they claim they can sell a short. Well, if we need them, we can get them. No, that is not how it goes. This is going to mark my words, guys. This is part of the bringing down of these fucking financial institutions. Jane Street is going to go down, and with them will be JP Morgan and eventually reach BlackRock, because it will be shown in court documents. Because remember, guys, there's software tracking the software. Whatever flows on the internet, whatever packages go through the internet, a lot of people have access to it. A lot of people have access to it. The problem we had before, right? Absolutely. Seems that Jane Street owes me a lot of money due to the Terra Luna collapse. Bingo. Bing fucking go. This is going to be one of the biggest, mark my words, guys, write down this fucking date. You're going to see major people sue Jane Street. And Jane Street will point to their coordinators. The coordinators will be shown to be linked with BlackRock. And BlackRock, this is why Larry Fink is now the head of the World Economic Forum, because they know this shit's about to come out. They're trying to get in front of it. This whole war with Iran, I told you guys my theory the other day. This war with Iran is their World War I, is their World War II. They're trying to use the war as the catalyst for the collapse. The collapse is going to happen. It's already in the fucking cards, guys. You might as well fucking mark it down in your diary. They just need something to point at. Now, my theory is our ships are around Iran and also around Israel. But I think Trump put the ships there to block the false flag. I think Israel was trying to set up some false flag inside of Iran, right? Remember the protesters in Iran and all that they're marching through the streets and everyone's like, yeah, hey, Trump, save us, Trump. That was all generated. That was NGO created protests. That was that was trying to generate popular opinion to pressure Trump into attacking Iran. That was all fake. There was not tens of thousands of protesters killed. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. This is all a propaganda campaign in order to create the war, because they need the war as an excuse for the collapse. Like I said, the collapse is already coming. That's why our ships near Iran, guys, I dug deep on this. I got accurate, real-time pictures of our ships in and near Iran. All of their weapons are facing away from Iran. The key there is the ships are not laid out in an offensive direction towards Iran. They are sitting at a defensive direction away from Iran. They're showing that they're not there to attack Iran. They're there to defend Iran. Because remember who Iran is. Remember who the government of Iran is. The government was put in place by the CIA. Now, you say, well, Ben, if the government was put in place by the CIA, why is Trump defending Iran? Because he's trying to negotiate a surrender of the leadership. But Israel and the other powers that be, they don't want to surrender. They need a war. So Trump is giving Iran time to come up with a deal, but the leadership in Iran, not the people, the leadership, know that if they surrender, they're toast anyway. Because then Israel, through the back channels, maybe some beepers blow up. I don't know what the fuck happens, but Israel needs the war. And I mean needs it, because of what's going on around in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all of those entities are now pro-trade. That's a different environment than the Middle East was in. The Middle East for years ran off of military economy. Trump has shifted that. We don't need a military economy. We can actually base the economy in the Middle East on production. Whole different system. Israel can't survive in a production environment. Israel has always relied on a military environment where they receive their money actually based on the threats from the countries around them. Well, what happens when the threats are no longer there? What happens when Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all of this shit. What happens when they're no longer a threat? Israel then has to be a production economy. Israel's not set up as a production economy. That's why Trump is also trying to work with Israel on the development of some type of economy. That's why they're like, oh, we'll have hotels in Gaza. Because they're like, look, you guys don't produce jack fuck. And either you actually become a tourist destination. I know this sounds horrible. Either you become a tourist destination or you guys are toast because you don't produce anything. There's no factories in fucking Bethlehem. All right. No one's making shoes right by the Wailing Wall. So the whole environment's changing. Well, Israel, in a last ditch effort, because no one else around them is going to, they know the rest of the countries around them are no longer a military threat. So they need to find a military threat. Iran's going to get us. And Trump's like, fuck, they are. That's why Trump blew up their nuclear facility a while back. He took that piece off of the chessboard. So now and that's why you hear people like, Iran's a week away from making a nuclear weapon. The fuck they are. Do you know how hard it is to enrich uranium? This ain't no shit you're doing down in your mom's fucking basement with a $25 fucking chemistry set. But Trump has to walk the line. He can't come right out and say, we think Israel's going to put out a false flag. Mind you, Europe's involved in this too. Europe needs a false flag too. Europe needs a war too. So Europe, because they thought their war was Russia. They thought, man, that's going to be our war. We're going to have us a good old-fashioned war. All right? No, that got squashed. Have you heard fuck all of Ukraine? Have you heard fuck all of like Russia, Ukraine? Oh, the war intensifies in Russian. Fuck no. Ukraine's toast. They all fucking know it's toast. Russia is kind of fucking around with them a little bit, but nothing big. So now you have Israel, you have Europe needing a fucking war and needing a fucking war right now. So off to Iran. So they go, oh, Iran's a threat. Oh yeah, we blew up their nuclear site, but that's okay. No, they're making nuclear weapons in the fucking mountains. They are making nuclear weapons at the local Wendy's restaurant. They're a week away. The motherfucker, they were a week away 3 weeks ago. How long is their goddamn week? Are they living on a different calendar where a week's a fucking month? This is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. But Trump is trying to hold off the false flag. It's exact a fucking minute. Let's remember. Let me rewind the tape here. Hang on 1 second. Word from the sponsor.
Ever wondered how safe your online activities really are? How secure is your digital footprint? In the vast realm of the internet, privacy and security are paramount. Without adequate protection, your personal data might be at risk. There are solutions to these issues, and today we're going to talk about two of them. Introducing Liberty laptops from Calyx Solutions. These cutting-edge devices are meticulously designed to bolster online privacy, providing you the liberty to surf the internet incognito. The World Wide Web can be a wild frontier, but with Liberty laptops, your online privacy is always protected. We also present you crypto laptops, designed with cryptocurrency users in mind. Equipped to support a myriad of wallets and exchanges, these laptops are tailored for seamless cryptocurrency transactions. They offer enhanced security protocols to keep your digital assets safe. Crypto laptops ensures a secure and smooth cryptocurrency experience. It's time to take control of your online privacy and security. Venture over to Calyx Solutions and explore our Liberty laptops and crypto laptops. Don't forget, our affiliate program lets you earn $50 per sale. Visit calyxsolutions.io now or call 7028458276 for more information, because your online safety is our priority.
Okay, now let me give you an exact example of what is going on right now. In 1940, 1941, 1942, Winston Churchill met with FDR on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. All right. They had a meeting. This was, remember, this is 1 month prior to Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor had not happened yet. 1 month prior to Pearl Harbor, Winston Churchill met with FDR in the Atlantic Ocean on a ship. They were having a conversation on how America would get involved in the war. Now, FDR's nephew was there. He was in the Navy. The only reason we know this is because of his fucking diary. He wrote that Winston Churchill and his uncle, FDR, came to the conclusion that they needed a motivating event. That's the term they used, a motivating event for the American people to actually get behind the war. 1 month before Pearl Harbor, they're like, we need a motivating event. So, here we go. So then, hang on 1 second, let me line this up in my head. All right, so remember, Winston Churchill was in deep fucking shit at this moment. Hitler had just walked into France, was basically surrounded Great Britain and England. They were fucking surrounded. Everyone thought that Hitler was going to go after England. Everyone just assumed Hitler is going to hit England. Well, he didn't. He moved up into Russia. But Winston Churchill thought he was Philly fucked. They thought London was fucking Philly fucked. But Hitler was saving London for last. Basically, like some people are saving Israel for last. So, what happens? Winston Churchill goes back to London. FDR goes back to America. And let's remember, on the day of Pearl Harbor, the Japanese were up in Canada at a meeting with the Canadian representatives of Great Britain. On the fucking day of Pearl Harbor. So wait. So there were communication lines between Japan and Great Britain. Then let's look at this. on the day Pearl Harbor happened. It was the only day before or after in military history where all of the ships and the planes at Pearl Harbor were on maintenance. Let me say that again. For the first time in military history, all of the ships and the planes that were docked at Pearl Harbor were all on maintenance on the same day. They never did that before because you never put all of your weapons on maintenance. Why would you? You would rotate your maintenance. So you always had an active fleet. Well, on Pearl Harbor, they were all on maintenance. Who the fuck coordinated that? And how the fuck did all right, except the aircraft carriers. No. They were all on maintenance. They were actually they were on what was called light maintenance, which means they had a crew that was small. Right? They were under light maintenance, which means the crew of the ship, the majority of them could leave for a off day. Right? Trust me, I've looked. There were so many of our warriors that were off-site. There was a light crew because it was maintenance. And that's when, and if you want to look into that, there were prostitution rings in Japan that were ran by the Japanese government. That's a whole nother show. I could do a whole show on all of the Japanese brothels that were in fucking in Hawaii. There were a ton of Japanese brothels, a ton of them. I mean, a fuck ton of them. Whole nother story. So that's exactly where we're at right now. Iran is the modern Pearl Harbor, except Trump is protecting it from an attack, giving the leadership of Iran time to surrender. But out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying, Iran is 1 week away. We had the vice president say Iran's 1 week away. Yeah, because that's them putting pressure on the leadership of Iran. That's them saying, you guys better fucking quit. You guys better relinquish fucking control, because they need the tension of the threat. This is all a show, guys, but Trump is trying to keep it a show. And for those of you who need more information and you don't really believe the whole Pearl Harbor thing, how the fuck did all the ships and planes get past Midway Island? Do some research on that. Midway, the reason it's called Midway, Google it, it's Midway. How did all those ships and planes and all that shit get past Midway, but no one ever saw them? Look at what was down on that day. Midway's radar was down. Why? Why was Midway's radar down? Google that shit. I actually don't Google it because they're lying. Look at the real on the boots reports of the soldiers that were at Midway. All right. They're trying to launch World War III. That's what they're trying to do. They need a war. The economy is fucked. They're being exposed. The Epstein files, all this shit is to expose the system. Trump, and mind you, this is a big game with a lot of players. And a lot of the players, even on Trump's side, are bad. like a wise man once said, if you want to kill the devil, you got to get close enough. We're at a point in Blackrock and Jane Street, and all of this is part of it. Remember who launched the investigation into Jane Street. It was the lawyer that's handling the bankruptcy for Terra Luna. It's a government lawyer from the SEC and the DOJ. They're who launched the suit against Jane Street. Why'd they do it now? They already knew it. They already knew the market maker. They already knew who the market maker for Terra Luna was. They knew it was James Street. And if you want to know why the CEO of Terra Luna is in prison, it's because he knew about it. I'm telling you guys, there's a reason. Sam, listen to this. Sam Bankman-Fried worked at James Street. His ugly ass librarian looking bitch girlfriend worked at James Street. His mom worked at Jane Street. Now, his ugly ass librarian looking girlfriend, her mom and dad worked at MIT alongside, everyone say it with me, the SEC chair at the time. That's right, our boy, the piece of shit MIT professor, Gary Gensler. Her mom and dad worked with Gary Gensler at MIT in the same fucking department. All right, genre. Folks, they knew this system was coming. They helped to create the system. They just want to control the system. They want to plug the old system into the new system and control the new system. There's a problem with that. The Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is decentralized. It's exactly what JP Morgan in the days of the gold run. They accumulated all the gold. JP Morgan and several other bankers accumulated a shit ton of gold from California and other gold locations. They traded the gold for dollars. All right. Then as soon as they accumulated enough gold, that's whenever they rolled in the Federal Reserve System. Because remember, the 1907 collapse. See, we've all heard of the 1929 collapse. The 1907 collapse was in the collapse in gold. This is what you have to understand. They rigged the gold market in 1907 or 1909. I can't remember exactly what year. They rigged the gold market so they could flood the system and accumulate a bunch of gold. Well, that collapsed. And that was one of the reasons they gave for the creation of the Federal Reserve, was the 1907 collapse. And that's when they're like, hey, I got a great idea. Instead of having all these different currencies and stuff, let's launch a Federal Reserve note. They centralized the value of the gold into the banks that launched the Federal Reserve. Because in 1907, a ton of fucking banks went to shit. That's what It's a Wonderful Life. You remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life? That's what the fuck was going on. They were always run on trusts and local savings and loans. That's what that was all about. 1907 was wiping out a bunch of savings and loan fucking corporations. Or trust. I'm sorry, not corporations. They're just doing it again. They're just doing it again. And if you know the history, you know why they're accumulating gold now. Because gold, they're accumulating value into gold so they could reset into Bitcoin. We've heard them say, oh, we're going to sell some gold so we can accumulate Bitcoin. Yeah, that's a wealth transfer from the old system to the new system. That's why Tether has a gold-backed stablecoin. This is for the next few years is the transition time from the old gold-backed economy. When I say gold back, I just mean gold had a monetary value. Now, for those of you paying attention, guess what they did recently, or relatively recently? They produced gold out of pure energy. They produced silver out of pure energy. Because all it is it's moving a few molecules inside of the cell. I know that sounds weird, but it's, here, let me make it, they're genetically engineering gold at the energetic level. That's what they're doing. They're genetically or here, let me phrase it like this. They're energetically manipulating the electrons and protons in the nucleus of the gold element. It's the only way I can really explain it. So now they can produce gold. Right? Just like they say we can grow meat. That is manipulating the proteins in a physical environment. That's how they grow meat. Well, the electrons of gold The electrons of a metal, of an element, is just the organization of the electrons and protons and neutrons in the element. So you think of the electrons as the proteins. One's physics, one's quantum. That's it. See, metals, gold is not a protein-based element. Elements are not based on proteins. They're based on electrons. So gold has no proteins in it. It's not built on proteins. It's actually built on electrons. That's why you need metals and proteins in your body, because metals are not protein. This is fundamental that you understand. These guys are playing the fucking long game. They know that now they can create gold and silver. What's the price of gold going to be? It's exactly what happened on the Silk Road once salt was abundant. Did you know salt used to be one of the most valuable fucking commodities in the world? Salt, if you had salt, you was a rich motherfucker. Now, how many of you are hodling salt? Not many. Why? Because they learned how to manipulate other things. The Iron Age, the Bronze Age, this Copper Age. Those are ages of knowledge of manipulations of metals. That's why eventually metal, exactly, worth its salt in gold. Exactly. That's where the old saying, that guy's worth his weight in or salt of the earth, or worth his weight in gold. Originally, it was worth your salt, worth the salt. Once you realize that gold and silver is accumulating the value because they hold the gold and silver. The reason the price is going up is because the old system holds all the gold. They want the value to go up because it's their asset. They hold the asset. Now, it's the same reason the founding fathers of America went with silver, because the elites held all of the gold. So why would America implement a currency or a economic system based on gold? Then the only rich people would be the fucking rich people already. They implemented silver because silver was known as the money of man, of the average man's money. Here we go. Now, they're accumulating value. Remember, value is an illusion. Price is an illusion. It's a shared illusion. That's why they can manipulate the price. We all look at a number on a screen and we just assume accuracy. Well, that's the numbers on the screen are fake. They don't really represent the true value. Now, with Bitcoin, because it's a ledger, that's different. What is the real price of gold? No one knows. Do you know why no one knows? because no one knows exactly how many ounces are in existence above ground and below ground. How valuable would fucking Bitcoin be if we didn't know how much we could mine? If we didn't know there was only 21 million, but how much would it be worth? How would you set a price? You couldn't, all right? Hey, hang on a second. Penn talks about Bitcoin price only when it's up, or when it's going up, then it's real. No, I don't. Brother, are you not listening? This is all fucking manipulated. All right? This is all fucking manipulated. That's what Jane's Street is. It's all fucking manipulated. But that's what bringing down Jane Street leads to, is honest. That's why everyone's wanting to put everything on blockchain, because then they have accurate accounting in real time. Right now, the key is hold the fuck on, because shit's about to get rowdy. It's already rowdy, all right? And everyone, just like they say in the military, you keep your head on a swivel. Because we got AI, we have robotics, we have Jane Street, we have Epstein, we got Iran, we got... You can't throw a rock without hitting something that's fucking just ridiculous right now. We are in the exponential phase of everything. Everything's a crisis, which means nothing's a crisis. That's what's crazy. Everything's a crisis, which means nothing's a crisis. Everyone, have a great day. I love you guys, and I will see you guys on Monday. Bye-bye, guys.
Tired of jumping through hoops to buy Bitcoin? Frustrated with endless paperwork and invasive identity checks? Introducing Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club's loan program. No KYC required. Say goodbye to the hassle and hello to freedom. Borrow up to $250,000 at as little as 7% interest. Join our community and take control of your financial future. Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, where privacy meets opportunity. Connect with like-minded individuals and grow together. Visit us today and unlock your $250,000 Bitcoin loan. Your journey to financial freedom starts here.